Welcome back. Productivity and competitiveness are some of the factors that can drive sustainable economic growth. That was just the discussion we had here. Now, this is the view also of some of the panelists at day 3 of the Nigerian Economic Summit, which came to an end on Thursday. The discussion centered on economic inclusion and integrating the states and regions in the country to make that happen.
This kind of a topic is framed. The mistake we may make is to assume that there is actually some perfect sets of rules that can determine similar outcomes in all countries. But the mistake we may make, on the other hand, is that we could decide that there is some Nigeria exceptionalism that prevents us from learning from some fundamental factors that can determine your outcome. So usually I address this kind of a topic by saying, what is the raison d'etre of the nation state? Why does the nation state exist? Why do we have to have systems of governance at all? It's clear that if there's anything that government exists to do, it's to be an arbitrator, as it were. It arbitrates in order to ensure that there is a level of equitable distribution of opportunities in order to enable for stable society. And that when societies are operated on the maxim that everyone with the potential can have the opportunity to maximize that potential, then the premise and the fundamental pillars of development that engender integrity, it wouldn't matter whether you are to the north, east, west, or south of it, the maxim that would drive the way that things are done by all segments of society, particularly led by government, would be productivity, competitiveness. If these two drive the way that thoughts are generated, whether in government, in private sector, or amongst the citizens, what then happens is that you try to identify the factors that constrain productivity and competitiveness. In identifying the factors that constrain, you are able to determine exactly what constraints must be removed. What's the simple definition of growth? Simple definition of growth is removing the constraint that hinders a person from growing. Am I that simple in it? Although we talk about growth and we think it's something complex, it's really about, if I removed the constraint that hinders a person from increasing, from improving, what would happen? They would increase, they would improve. So for us, our greatest challenge has been that inability to organize our thought process in a way that we agree that these two factors of lack of productivity and competitiveness are the things we need to enter into our conversation from. So that takes us to, why haven't we been able to get to the point where we agreed this? And that's where the political economy, rather than the ethnocentric approach to it, would be useful. In most societies that have managed stability of economic growth, it's always been underpinned by a conversation that enabled people to have certain shared values and a shared vision. And in the shared values and shared vision emerged some sense of shared identity. So that what would be the overriding value construct on which these other issues of competitiveness and productivity are constructed, it would be the dignity of the human life. Regardless of who it is, the dignity of the human life, putting premium on the human being above and beyond anything that is less than the human being. Why is that so? Because the human being will determine your productivity. Realize that every Nigerian matters. Then what would happen is that everything we will do in terms of policies, in terms of institutions building, in terms of investment, whether they be public or private, would revolve around this core belief that every Nigerian life matters. So our attempt at therefore constructing functional markets would be to say that the market system is what enables every Nigerian that matters to be the best that they can be, because they would put their best foot forward in the case of the opportunity to gain the reward of their effort. It would send us again to saying, if every Nigerian matters, are there variations in the capacity of every Nigerian to take advantage of opportunity even when they have been made available? In effect, we're asking ourselves, education is an important enabler of the capability process. If education is the most important of it, because that's what guarantees you that economic and social mobility in society will carry on, regardless of who is at the seat of power.